JamesMac Show on Shoreditch Radio.
It's not often that I get to speak to bands who I absolutely idolised as a youngster, but here on the JamesMac Show on Shoreditch Radio, I am privileged to chat to one of the defining indie bands of the early 2000s. Their debut album had me absolutely living for the weekend back in the day, and honestly, I still think it's hard to beat. Since that debut album, they've released another 2 studio albums, a live album, and an amazing compilation album, and they're just about ready to release their 4th studio album next month. Please welcome the man behind Stars of CCTV, Mr. Rich Archer from Hard-Fi, to the JamesMac Show.
Hi, James. How you doing?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. I have to admit, I am fangirling a little bit because massive fan of Hard-Fi. I don't think I'm ever 10 feet away from my Stars of CCTV CD, which I can't really play anymore, but it's always here with me. So it's really cool to have you on. I genuinely am looking forward to the release of Sweating Someone Else's Fever, which is 19th of June, I think.
Right.
But you must be probably more excited than I am.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of sort of taken completely by surprise about. First of all, because last year we had the 20th anniversary of Stars of CCTV, so that kind of
I forgot. Yeah, gosh.
And then we were putting this. We had this new album, which obviously I was super excited about. But I was kind of like, okay, well, when was the last one? Then I started counting back, and it was 15 years.
Has it been that long?
Killer Sounds, Killer Sounds came out about 2011. I think it came out around the same sort of time, we haven't been working on it for all that 15 years.
You've had a rest. You've had kids, life, usual stuff. And you've already released, and I played them on my show, to be fair, They Ain't Your Friends, which is awesome. And then the latest single, which is Looking for Fun. But what's made you release those tracks as singles from the album first?
I don't know. They were just the one. Well, it's funny, actually, because when we were making the record, me and I spent a lot of time with Wolsey White, who worked on the first record with me. He's worked on all of them, actually, but
Brilliant.
He's a friend of mine and an ace face round Stains, and he's really good as well. And so there's certain songs where you go, oh, this feels good. This feels like maybe this could be like a single, whatever that means anymore. And,
no, it's still got a place, I think. Definitely. Definitely.
And funnily enough, Looking for Fun, when we were doing it, I was jumping around the room to it. And then when it first sort of got submitted, like this is, it kind of was like, oh, yeah, it's all right. And there was even talk of, and it was like, well, what's the track listing going to be? Well, as far as, it was always down to us, but it was like, well, you could have that one, or Looking for Fun, or whatever, really, as if because it was expendable.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things, after you live with it for a little bit, people go, actually, no, I love that track.
Wow, it's brilliant. It's got such a kind of high energy to it, and I'm fairly certain on the weekend I heard it on Football Focus or one of the football shows.
Yeah, it was. I missed it. It was on. It was the same segment was on Match of the Day as well. And it felt good. It looked good with the old footy montage,
it's perfect. Anything sporting, anything kind of, an amazing, high energy, cool moment. It's a great song for that. I love it. Yeah. Absolutely love it.
And then They Ain't Your Friends. So we pretty much, as far as I was concerned, we'd finished the record, and then there was the usual classic. Oh, do we need one more banger? It's sort of
nice.
The record label always wants that. Is it got anything? And often, as you kind of, that's happened before. Where you sort of go, oh, what about this then? And actually, then everyone loves it. It was the same on Killer Sounds with Good for Nothing. That was sort of a last minute throw into the ring. So I was going, all right. So I started going through some songs that I had that I thought might, as far as I was concerned, we had everything we needed. And then while I was doing that, my son, who's like 10 years old, I'd given him my old computer that I used to have in here, actually, in the room I'm in at the moment. It's my little home studio, and I'd given it to him to muck about with because he wanted to play with some music software.
That's cool.
And he basically was going through it, and he'd found these 2 old demos that I'd completely forgotten about. One was called All the Money's Gone, and one was called They Ain't Your Friends. And he took the vocals off They Ain't Your Friends, and he put them over this instrumental of All the Money's Gone. The keys were the same, so that worked, but the tempos were different. So it was kind of like chaos, and every now and again, in time,
just a little bit.
Cool, yeah. And then it was like, well, okay, then. So I sat down with him, and we.
That's
sort of
brilliant.
In time, and literally, it was like, I said, let's keep this really simple. Let's not get into this, because sometimes I know I'm very guilty of. Like, oh, right, now we can fix all this and make it all perfect and kill it.
Yeah, take the authenticity away a little bit. Yeah.
So I said, like, this is how this one song went. Just lay the lyrics out almost like you had it, but make them all fit. And then that's it. It feels good. So it's kind of weird because you have like the chorus refrain going over a verse groove at one point and then over a chorus groove at another point. So it's constantly changing and evolving. It's not really the same thing twice.
So from these two old demos,
yeah,
your son, which is awesome in itself that he's interested in music and he's already at that level, has kind of gone, well, put these two together, Dad. That's amazing. That's brilliant. I love that.
It was cool, and then it was like so, and then it was almost like, okay, I was thinking the vocals a bit rough and ready because I probably knocked it out, put it down in one take. It was like, no, look, as soon as you start trying to fix it, you'll lose all the anger that was in it. I was like,
nice.
So it's kind of it was literally right there you go. And we sent it off to the guys, and they're like, oh my God, we love this one.
They were like, have you got another banger? And you went, yes, I have. Have some of that.
My son's he's kind of like, okay, well, where's my cut? What's going on here?
He wants royalties now, definitely. Yeah.
And I said, do you want to do any more stuff? He's like, nah, no, I've done that now. Completely like, yeah,
he's reached the pinnacle now. He doesn't need to. At 10, that's pretty good. It's pretty cool. And It'd like me to point out that he's 11 now. Oh, 11, sorry. Yeah, 11.
He was 10 then, but he'd be very, be very upset.
Still not bad. He's reached the pinnacle at 11. Some of us are still looking for it, but there you go. So that's pretty good. And I think I know the answer to this question, but I've always wanted to ask it. Where's the kind of the name for Hard-Fi come from? I know it's a long time ago now, but...
So when we was... the band was kind of gestating sort of thing, and I had quite a few of a lot of the tunes, and it was sort of going, well, we need a name. And at one point I was going, well, could it be Stars of CCTV? Because I thought that would, which in many ways would have worked well, because we could have kept that artwork for everything, because it would have been like the logo and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, got you.
But my manager at the time was like, oh, is it a bit wordy? Is it? So I was like, yeah, maybe it is. But so anyway, I've been reading this a biography of Lee Scratch Perry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Somewhere in there, I read that he described the sound of his studio, the Black Ark studio, as hard-fi. So not lo-fi, hi-fi, but hard-fi. And I thought, well, that sounds cool. And in fact, there's a couple of, I think there's a Pablo Augustus track that he produced where you kind of hear him shouting out hard-fi and all this sort of stuff.
Cool.
But I've had to spend my whole career kind of explaining it to people.
I know, sorry. I had to ask. I kind of knew the story behind it, but a lot of my listeners probably don't.
Yeah. But not in that way. But it's not, like we literally kind of know hard-fi, not hi-fi, not well, you're in McFly. I was like, no. It's been a lot of that.
Oh, I bet. And who would you say has kind of influenced the sound? Because it's the sound's kind of, for me, it has evolved as a listener. Obviously, just a layman, not a proper musician, but it's kind of evolved for me. But as kind of from the early days to now, has any bands that you've kind of come up at the same time as you influenced what you've been doing on the new record?
I think. I mean, from back in the day, the general approach was always kind of, bands like The Clash and the Specials, where they're kind of taking, obviously they're, a rock or a ska band, but they're adding different elements to it, and so it's through that, that I've just come across the Sound of the Universe in Soho. They've got that 100% Dynamite series, just all these amazing dub, ska, reggae tracks, and there's just everyone's a banger. And at the time I was listening to that loads and that sort of stuff. But then also going, well, okay, well now in my era, what could I bring to it? And obviously at the time there was a lot of, there'd been like French house and Dre and all that sort of stuff, and then coming out of the States, been Strokes and bands like Rapture. Radio 4, sort of doing that sort of post-punk, slightly groovy, and and James Murphy, DFA, the LCD Sound System, that kind of thing, which is sort of like playing into that idea of like, oh yeah, like we can dance to it as well as kind of rock out and also say something, So that was kind of where it came out of. Weird enough, this sort of stuff now, it was like, I kind of got in this bits, and there's a track on the record called Digo Nada, which is like a cumbia track, which is still rooted in that, because first cumbia track I heard was on a Joe Strummer. It was the soundtrack to the Joe Strummer movie.
Okay,
actually,
yeah.
Because he did some shows on the BBC World Service, and you can find them online. They might even be on Spotify, I'm not sure. But
I'm certain I fell down a YouTube rabbit hole and saw a few.
And he played this Andres Landero track, Martha Cecilia, I think it was. So this kind of like crazy. And then I was like getting into that stuff. And then also, I'd met my wife. My wife's from Central America. So into more and more of that music. And so you've got some elements kind of that, particularly in this particular track. It's got featuring this amazing kind of, he's Latinx. He's born and raised in London, but to Colombian parents, so he's got doing some stuff on that, and so kind of lots of different stuff really. And it was just a feeling of getting in the studio and after the success of Stars of CCTV, we kind of had our dream in that we had this band, we had the opportunity to do kind of whatever we wanted. We'd built our studio up to be a pretty cool, still a project studio, but our own place. So we had all that stuff, but the kind of the pressure to kind of like, right, well, you need to deliver something that's going to take you to the next level now.
I bet.
And you haven't really got enough time, and blah blah blah, and it's got to be an album that's a weighty tome. And it's like, sorry. I mean,
no, you're fine. Don't worry. The commercial pressure of it must be pretty immense, really.
Yeah, and it just wasn't. It was. I mean, I did enjoy it because I enjoy that sort of stuff. But it was quite. We were working like 6-7 days a week. We were surviving off kind of like microwave meals. I mean, we were all kind of like, and it was sort of. And I kind of
a bit surreal, maybe.
Yeah, do I want to do an album? It's kind of a big. But this one, it's like, okay, right. Let's just not have any of that. Let's just enjoy the process.
That's cool.
At the end of the day, you can't. And this is one of those things I read in the Rick Rubin book.
I'm part way through it now. I love it.
There's a bit where it's a bit woo-woo, and then he gets into some amazingly, really interesting bits. But
cool.
You can't get. Like we could make this album, and it could be the best thing we've ever done. Could be the best thing in the last 20 or 30 years. But if we put it out, and then the same week we put it out, Elvis comes back and releases a record. That's it. No one's ever going to hear it. So it's almost like you can't almost, account for those sort of things. So you may as well just enjoy making it and enjoy doing it, because
enjoy the process. Yeah, love it.
So it's like, right, okay, then, and I'm, let's just make and write some tunes that we want to write, and not get too worried about. Literally have you always do. You always go, this one could be a single, like I was saying earlier. But it's just enjoy the process, and there was like new songs. There was times when I was finding like it was almost like co-writing with myself, because after the third album I wrote loads, and then it kind of got parked, and I was going back through all these old demos and recordings, going, oh, that's a cool riff. Let's use that. And wrote some new lyrics, or put it to a new chord progression, and and doing that sort of stuff. And that was kind of quite fun, because there was all this stuff that was there that could be harvested and turned into something new and made fresh again. So it was just sort of trying to enjoy it, and
that's good. I mean, I think you kind of get to a certain age. I know I have, where you almost stop caring about what other people think. You go ahead and do something because you want to enjoy it. So I can completely relate to that. That's the best thing ever.
To be fair, that's sort of what we did on the first album.
So it's taking it back, or taking it all the way back to that feeling.
Yeah. We didn't really sit and try and, because otherwise if we were trying to be like every other indie band, we wouldn't have made that album. It would have been more like the Libertines or Franz Ferdinand, or that wasn't.
No, that's it. But they had, you had something that they didn't have, and I'm going to say it was the melodica. It's literally my favourite thing on Cash Machine. So, yeah. But like you say, it's having a different sound to everyone else and doing what's authentic to you, really. And I can hear that already with the 2 tracks that have been released. So I'm really looking forward to the rest, definitely.
Cool.
And then I always ask every guest on my show this question because everyone makes a funny noise and starts scratching their head. But if there was going to be a movie made of your life so far, Rich, who would play you and why?
Can it be alive or dead?
Alive or dead, actor, musician, anyone you want.
Alain Delon.
Okay, that's not a name I've come across, to be honest. So why would they play you?
Because he was this French actor. He died recently, but in the 60s, he was like just so cool, so handsome, so effortlessly stylish.
Nice.
There's a film called The Samurai where he's a hitman. It's just like,
wow,
it's wicked, man. Check him out.
I'm gonna look him up. That's awesome. That is.
Not saying that I've got those attributes, but like if you're going to have someone play you, why not be?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Yeah, Brad Pitt would be boring, but you know. Yeah, that's
it. It can be all in French as well.
Even more cool. Smoking the cigarette, like just hanging off the mouth, like proper French. Yeah, love it.
Totally good with him, man. He's like,
love that. That's. I'm gonna risk it, and that's probably the best answer I've had, and the quickest actually. You straight on that one. You've obviously been asked that question before.
I haven't actually, but
oh wow, okay, cool.
I don't know why that was just popped straight into my head because do you know what? The reason I thought about him, I've often, looked at. I love his films and I love looking at what he wears and that kind of stuff and his style and stuff. But literally, I think it was on Instagram. There was a clip popped up of him sat next to Mick Jagger and Marianne Faithfull, and Mick's looking all kind of like a bit fed up because Marianne Faithfull basically sat like effortlessly cool. I think he was like a paratrooper because obviously they had national service in France. I think he was in the paratroopers, and he turned his hand to acting and was just great at it. And
it must have been cool as a paratrooper in the first place.
If he came down, and like.
Bonjour. Yeah, love that.
Yeah,
love it. And then this is always quite an interesting question because I'd love to have kind of been successful in the music industry, and I wish kind of I'd stayed in a band when I was 15 and all that kind of stuff. Didn't do that. Did all the kind of the get a job, house, kids, which is great. Not complaining. But kind of if you hadn't had such like massive success in the music industry, what do you think you'd be doing now? What would be your kind of normal job?
I don't know.
What would you like to do?
I mean, there's a lot of things I love. Like, so right now, and it's probably because of it's not just because of sitting watching people do stuff on social media. But
yeah, of course.
I probably wouldn't have done this. It was one of those things where I kind of always assumed that it was weird. I was always super optimistic. I couldn't imagine someone saying yes, but I sort of knew that it would work out. I just had this thing that at some point it's going to work out. Now, I could well have been deluded, and I don't know. When I first sort of left school, I was thinking about I'd like to work in a recording studio.
That's cool.
And obviously they don't exist anymore. I did go and look at one point getting into that would have been cool to do, was like doing all the sound dubbing for films.
That's a cool job.
Yeah, all the sound effects, the speech and the music and all that sort of stuff. But I knew a guy who did it, and obviously you see the guys at the top level doing it, and they're in some amazing studio. But then I know this other guy did it, and it was basically him on his own in a dark room, just smoking cigarettes all day. Never met anyone. I don't know if
yeah, you don't know if you can face that. But but now clearly you weren't deluded because you had your kind of vision and you knew it would kind of work out, and it has, and it's been amazing.
I'd kind of like to do. I'd like to be a carpenter.
That's a cool job. I've got a couple of friends that do that.
I mean, but maybe I don't know if it's but doing not sort of necessarily putting up A-frames for a house.
Yeah.
But doing kind of some crazy furniture or...
Oh, yeah, some cool ornate carvings.
Getting the different woods and all that sort of stuff. I can't do anything. Cool. rubbish, but
no, but if you'd had time to train and all that, that's cool. And what would you say has been the most memorable moment in your career so far? Something that just really sticks out for you?
I mean, it's probably going to be. It's actually sort of 5 moments, but encapsulated as one is the run at Brixton Academy, because we did 5 nights there, sold out.
Wow, yeah.
We had, I don't think at that time no one had done that on a debut album, and the only bands that had done it up to then was The Clash, Massive Attack.
Wow.
I can't remember someone else. But we had Billy Bragg as our special guest every day, which was incredible.
Awesome.
I'm a big fan of his. And then I think the second night, Paul Weller came on stage with us.
Wow.
Last night, Mick Jones of The Clash came on stage. So it was just...
That's some run. No wonder that's the most memorable moment. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
But also, just to add to that, and, in case anyone is listening and they're...
I hope they are. They better be.
But, anyone who's listening to kind of starting out on anything, really, when I do look back, some of my fondest memories are actually before we got signed, before things started kicking off. And it was that moment when we found this little old taxi office that became our studio, where we recorded the first album, and we were sort of like turning it into it was like a student house. It was tiny, but turning it into a studio, and we were sitting in the pub dreaming up ideas for a video that we could do on the cheap, which my mate was going to make, which was a cash machine video. Yeah. And we were going to Portobello Market looking for clothes, and just that kind of like, it was sort of hanging out with your mates, being creative, because we didn't have a pot to piss in. So it was like, how can we do this in the cheap? Yeah. And it was just like, at the time, we were young, we didn't really have any responsibilities. Yes, we had to sort of kind of have a bit of money coming in to cover stuff, but it was just like a great, cherish those times, really, because it was...
You don't get them back, do you?
No.
That's cool. No, I like that. You could have gone for the obvious one, but yeah, I like it. It's cool.
What's the obvious one?
With five sold out nights with thingy, but I like the when you do think back to things before you've just kind of had some success, whether it's job, life, whatever, it is those moments before leading up to it, and you go, you know what, some of those bits were really hard, but the most enjoyable. So yeah, no, I like that. That's really cool.
Just to add to that, in a sort of very bizarre tangent, on Twitter, I follow this account that posts up bits of Winnie the Pooh.
Okay. Bit of AA Milne.
Yeah. And there was a bit in there where they asked Pooh, what's your favourite thing? And he thought to himself, well, eating honey's my favourite thing. But there's this weird thing about the moment just before I eat it that is this amazing feeling, and I can't describe it. So there you go. That's Winnie the Pooh.
I like that. The anticipation. I like that. That's cool. What's the one thing that you would most want to be remembered for as an artist and part of Hard-Fi?
Well, that's a...
the head scratcher.
Yeah, it is. Because, that's one of those things I've sort of never thought about. I sometimes think that we are perhaps not given the props for, Stars of CCTV was a number one album, sold, 1 million plus records, means a lot to a lot of people, nominated for awards and what have you, all this sort of stuff. But we made that album ourselves on a laptop with some crappy mics in a old cab office. That was punk rock. That was DIY. There was no... Yes, we had a major label, but we'd made the album. They didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
They came to us. That was, and when we originally put out the mini album, no one was interested. No, we couldn't get arrested. Somehow it got out to the States, and apparently Rick Rubin heard it, said it's the best thing he'd heard all year, and suddenly the phone's ringing. But we made that album ourselves, no money, barely any equipment. I just did a post on Instagram about the guitar that I was using, which I bought when I was 17 with some money I earned from working at Thorpe Park, right? And it was a £200 guitar. We did it ourselves, as I say, and it was like, and then you sort of, I think sometimes we sometimes felt that, some of the elements of the press and the gatekeepers were sort of suspicious of us for not being legit.
Yeah.
And we were the most legit band out there.
Which I can testify to, because it was such a great album. And I was trying to think of my least favourite song on that album, because I've got so many favourites. I just couldn't think of one, to be honest. So it was such a departure from kind of everything else that was around at the time. And the fact, like you say, that you did it all yourselves on, not the most expensive guitar, not the most expensive mics, perhaps not got the right sound deadening. I mean, I always remember putting egg boxes on the back of stuff and thinking it was sound deadening. So yeah, it's just absolutely amazing, Rich. Absolutely amazing. But look, I really appreciate you joining me. So thank you so much. Means a lot, I'm sure, to my listeners as well. And if anyone would like to keep up with all things Hardfi, then you need to head over to Instagram, because they're on there as @Hardfi Official. And I genuinely can't believe I get to say this in front of Rich as well on my own radio show. But here is the brand new single from Hardfi, Looking for Fun, right here on the JamesMac Show on your Shoreditch Radio. Sorry. Yeah, woo! And when you're fangirling over people, it's not a good look on radio, really.
Oh, man, I'll take it. I'll take it every day, all day long.